We were scheduled for a jury trial. However, there's been new evidence that there is no way the state would have known or the defense would have known. Is that correct for both parties?
Yes, Your Honor, we found out about it, or I really found out about it along with the defense yesterday.
And I think the scope of what we needed to both see was greater than what either one of us anticipated. So I would agree with that.
All right. So how much time are you all asking for? I want to make sure that both parties have the information that they're looking for.
So Judge, right now, we sent an email out on this case to our investigator. The jail said that they would compile the list of visits concerning Mr. Gonzalez Lopez. And I believe those are ready to be picked up. We just haven't had the ability really right today to go do that. So I'm assuming that those are going to be uploaded relatively shortly, and we can provide that to defense via e-discovery.
All right. And the visits, I'm assuming, were done by video?
Yes, Judge, that's my understanding.
And nobody knows how long those visits took place, correct?
No, Judge.
Do we have any idea or approximation of how many videos?
So in speaking to the detective indicated to us that there was about 3 or 4 visits concerning Mr. Gonzalez Lopez. He said that they all varied in length. I don't think he ever gave a specific time as to how long each video or visit was. Did he, Kathy?
No, and I think that there were some other visits that Hank had requested too. So I think the total is going to actually be a little bit more than that.
Right.
But I would think that they were probably, I mean, generally speaking, the visitations are about 45 minutes to an hour generally. My only concern is that I'm in the middle of preparing for a murder case that's, I think.
No, I will get, yes.
So.
Well, I can tell
I
both
just don't have
parties.
time to look at everything.
No, I'm going to give you all both time to look over everything and also schedule a trial date if that's what's decided. And I'm assuming the visitations, and this is assumption on my part, took place in Spanish.
Yes.
That's
So-
the assumption.
And so
Well,
maybe there's a transcript needed, maybe not. And then there's the other issue of if he was presenting himself as an attorney, is that attorney-client privilege, even though he's not an attorney? So I think
Well, I
those
would
are
say that's a
issues.
definite no.
Yes. Yeah, no, he's not an attorney.
I would say that
But-
there is, I certainly don't think there's any privilege that would keep me from looking at things.
No, that, what I mean is if, and this is just me asking a question, if somebody has case law on it because new things pop up, the question is going to be, what did your client say? And whether or not this person was holding himself out as an attorney and he assumed that's his attorney, whether or not that equals attorney-client privilege. That I don't know. So people may want to start doing some research on that.
Yes, Judge.
Because I would think that if you're speaking to your attorney, you would probably tell them things. Not saying that it would be anything incriminating. We just don't know.
Well, I just want to make sure that my client's rights are protected to the absolute fullest extent of the law, as I know everybody here is interested in doing, because that is our ethical duty.
Yeah.
So I think just giving us some time to look through those things to see if they're pertinent, and we can address it together once we all have a chance to look at everything.
All right, well, off the record for a moment. This is what I think. And this is just me looking ahead. Depending on if this person presented himself as an attorney, then it may be items that the DA's office should not be looking at or looking to transcribe. So I would think it will probably be prudent on the state's part and everybody's part is if the items are obtained for the state not to look at them until it's determined if this person was saying, I'm your attorney. And then everybody look into case law on what makes attorney-client privilege. If you're dealing with someone who's not actually an attorney and you assume that they're attorney, does that still give you attorney-client privilege? And it may be something that the state should not review.
If you think that that would be the best way just to avoid any further complications, potentially, I would be more than happy to go ahead and well, and I think the same goes for Mr. Leal with his client. We could review those, and if we do think that there's an issue, we could certainly bring that to the attention of the court.
All right, we're
for
back
your
on,
review.
okay, all right, we're back on the record. These are my thoughts. If you all obtain all the information, and if both parties want to put it under seal, I'll review it. Of course, I'll have to have an interpreter. And if I review it, and if it appears that that person is presenting themselves as an attorney and as his attorney, and then I will let you all know this is what has happened. This person has presented himself as his attorney, then everybody can file whatever motions they want to file as to whether or not the state should have privy to that.
I would feel much more comfortable with it going to you, even if it has to be transcribed or translated, and then you making that call, because I think that puts the responsibility, I guess,
Yeah.
that heavy burden where it needs to be as far as making any calls on who gets what.
All right. And so just so everyone know, the part that I'm going to listen to is whether or not this person meets with your client by video or in person and presents himself as his legal attorney.
Yes, Judge.
And then once that's determined, I will let you all know. He says he's his legal attorney. Then you all will do research. I will do research on whether or not that's attorney-client privilege, even though that person, we're assuming, is not an attorney.
Yes.
And Judge, what I was gonna do, because I did request the visits for Mr. Leal's client as well. I took that step. What I was gonna do is see if our investigator can go through sort of the same process that he did on this case, because my understanding is that they're supposed to be put on a flash drive,
Yes.
and then he's just gonna pick them up. So I'm gonna see, I emailed about Mr. Leal's client maybe about an hour and a half ago. So it might just be
All
easier,
right.
just to say, hey, can you just do the same thing?
All right. And Mr. Leal, could you state your name for the record, please?
Rafael Leal.
And Mr. Leal, you're representing Caroline
Juan Velasquez.
and cause number 2022 CR 10958B, is that correct?
Correct.
And he's also in custody and he's in the courtroom.
Yes, Your Honor.
So it's the court's understanding then that neither defense attorneys would have an objection to the state not reviewing the videos that this person may have had with your clients, the video visitation on video or in person, that I will receive the evidence that they have. I will have an interpreter and it transcribed to see whether or not this person presented himself as the attorney of your client, Ms. Compton, and your client, Mr. Leal. And once that's determined, then you all will have to do your research. I will do my research, and it'll become a question of whether or not attorney-client privilege was established. And of course, if it was, then the state would not be entitled to this information. It would just go to the attorneys. Is there any objection to that from either defense attorney?
No objection from my side, Judge. I only have a question. Has those videos been reviewed by anybody, any detective who understands the Spanish language or anybody else in the district attorney's office? That would be my only question. Perhaps they have already reviewed those things.
May
At
I
this
speak
point.
to that, Judge?
Yes.
So my understanding is that the assigned detective to the case involving Mr. Berrocal attempted to review. However, he does not consider himself to be proficient in Spanish. He speaks some Spanish. So he communicated to both Daniel and myself that he was not able to say with any certainty what the conversations
All right.
contained.
So state, I understand that there may potentially be charges against this person for perhaps presenting himself as an attorney. But if you could let the detective know that they're not to review those tapes as they relate to this case. Any detective who's involved in this case or officer who is involved in the case out of this court is not to review those.
Okay.
That it will be sent to me. And I will review those and do in camera.
Does that include members of the district attorney's office?
Oh, you were not here for that discussion. The district attorney's office is not going to be reviewing that. I will review it. And if either party says, you're my attorney, or this person presents himself or has presented himself as the attorney for your client or Ms. Compton's client, that's all I'm going to listen to. And then I will let you all know that he presented himself as an attorney. Then the next question is going to be whether that's enough to establish attorney-client privilege when in fact this person is alleged not to be an attorney.
And if it turns out that that you don't find anything like that, then I'm assuming at that point it'll be released to everyone.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good to me.
And Judge, I found the detective, his email in my address book. I was just gonna send him an email.
All right,
Pretty
thank
much
you.
All of us.
Yes.
including you, Judge.
Thank you. So, Mr. Leal, that's the court's proposal. Ms. Compton is in agreement with that. Are you in agreement with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so my understanding is that they already have the videos. So let me see what date we can bring this back. And State, when do you think you'll be able to have the videos to the court?
That I don't know, Judge. I think it's more just scheduling with our investigator to go pick them up.
All right. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to recall this case. I know that spring break is, I guess, the week of March 11th or the week of March 18th. Am I correct? Who has school-age children? All right, so we're going to recall this for March 4th. And on that date, that State, March 4th, is that enough time for it to be given to me? All right, so March 4th, just so everybody is clear, the only thing is going to happen on that date is you all going to come in at 9 a.m. And we're going to make sure that I have the videos and have whatever documentation of the visitations that happen at the jail. All right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there anything else from either side?
Not from my side, Judge.
Not at this point, Your Honor, no. Thank you.
All right, and Mr. Leal, you're fluent in Spanish?
Fully, yes.
All right, if you will please let your client know, because we didn't have two headphones for each client.
I'll let him know, Judge.
All right, is there anything else that we need to take up?
No, thank you, Your Honor.